Danny Masterson's wife, distraught after a jury found the actor guilty of raping two women. Actress Bijou Phillips was comforted by her brother-in-law, actor Billy Baldwin, as she left the Los Angeles courthouse. Masterson was on trial for rape for a second time after the first case ended in a mistrial in November with a hung jury. In his new trial, after the guilty verdicts came in, Masterson was immediately handcuffed and sent to jail.
When the verdicts were announced, I heard this wail. I mean, it was otherworldly sound, and I realized it was Bijou Phillips, Danny Masterson's wife, and she was crying, and the judge asked her, "Can you maintain composure?"
Masterson, who starred in That 70s Show, is a member of the Church of Scientology. So were his accusers at the time of the attacks in the early 2000s, including Chrissy Bixler, who dated Masterson for 6 years. She first spoke out to actress Leah Remini on her show, Scientology and the Aftermath, saying that in 2001, she and Masterson went out for drinks when she blacked out.
I was like, what happened? I have no memory.
Right.
And he just kind of chuckled. He started laughing and he said, "Oh, I had sex with you last night." And I said, "Was I unconscious?" And he said, "Yeah."
The jury deadlocked on her case in the retrial, but found Masterson guilty of raping two other women. In a statement, Bixler says she is devastated that the jury couldn't reach a verdict in her case. Despite my disappointment in this outcome, I remain determined to shine a light on how Scientology and other conspirators enabled and sought to cover up Masterson's monstrous behavior. A Scientology spokesperson issued this statement: "The church has no policy prohibiting or discouraging members from reporting criminal conduct of Scientologists or anyone to law enforcement. There is not a scintilla of evidence supporting the scandalous allegations that the church harassed the accusers."
Masterson's sentencing is scheduled for August 4th.
Disgraced comedian Bill Cosby has been hit with another sexual assault lawsuit. 80-year-old former Playboy model Victoria Valentino says Cosby drugged and raped her more than 5 decades ago. She's suing under a new California law that temporarily lifts the statute of limitations for civil sex assault cases. Cosby, now 85, served 3 years in prison on similar charges before his conviction was overturned on a
Hey, 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 it's Fun Albert, and I'm gonna sing a song for you. And Bill's gonna show you a thing or two. You'll have some fun now with me and all the gang, learning from each other while we do our thing. Gonna have a good time. Hey, hey.
This is Bill Cosby coming at you with music and fun. And if you're not careful, you may learn something before it's done. Hey, hey, hey.
Bill Cosby was sentenced to like 3 to 10 years in prison, and he served that in a maximum security prison just outside of Philadelphia. 3 to 10 years, okay? So he did 3 of the 10 years. He did the minimum of the 10-year sentence that he was given, okay? And, people still pressed about it and shit. They got him a billionaire to do, 3 years in prison, right? Out of a 10-year bid. At an elderly age, at a disheveled elderly age, on questionable charges where his due process was violated and shit, okay? And, the people convicted him weren't like, novices, they were seasoned professionals, the DA's office and all that bullshit. So, if those doubt in my mind about every goddamn thing that was going on, and today in 2023, he's being sued by another woman, the first of many, in what I believe is just a cash grab. It's just extortion. When you're like a wealthy and you're a black man, They can't let you hold that money. You can't have any generational wealth, right? That's the way I feel about it. Because, like this latest charge, like supposedly happened in 1970, I was like barely one. And I'm 50 fucking four. All right? I'm 54 and shit. And like it's been a ton, what they had like 60, they said 60 women. You want to tell me that 60 women waited decades upon decades, whether they were in the business or not, to file any kind of fucking charges and shit, okay? All right? And just the media's involvement, the minority majority's involvement in the media, it's just egregious and shit. It's just a slap in the face to anybody with common sense from any walk of life, any ethnicity and shit. They chose to look and even give a damn and shit about, what, due process is or what it means, what your supposed laws mean and shit. To me, it was like a modern Dred Scott. Okay, just think of the averages that like over 60 women would wait decades to enact, legal consequences on somebody that supposedly, allegedly, sexually assaulted them. I get to say that because his conviction was overturned. All right, legally overturned and shit. But yet you still have the same mainstream media. You still have the same mainstream media referring to these women as victims and shit when the man's conviction was overturned legally. Okay, legally, still call them victims and shit. All right. I've seen women do a lot of shady stuff in my years, okay? In my 50 plus years on this planet, I've seen women do some really nasty, sketchy shit behind doors and in front of doors. I've even paid the consequences professionally for seeing some shit I shouldn't have saw, and being like, bombarded by office politics and shit. I'm not gonna go further. All right, I'm not even gonna say what I think is shit. I think it's irrelevant for me to engage in a back and forth with anyone about Bill Cosby and shit. Okay, one a guy I used to know for years, man. He used to always talk about the Bill Cosby allegations, and my reaction was the same and shit. I'm like, well, you've been in the same places I've been. I've been a little bit further than you as far as my travels go at that point in time. And in Hollywood, women arrive every fucking day looking to be a star, willing to do anything and shit. Okay, that's where the adult industry is based out of there. Okay, I myself used to live in I used to live in Hollywood and shit. And I used to walk down to the newsstand at Hollywood and Cahuenga and shit. And there's like a Popeyes chicken there, and you would see women like sitting in there, and that was like a hub. You used to crack a joke that if there was a real life Punisher, he would just blow that shit up with like a rocket launcher, because you would see a lot of us dudes being predatory towards these women because the Greyhound bus station was right across the street. And you just see bitches getting off, from all walks of life with all kind of problems and shit, but a lot of them were in the know. And I'm not saying anything about the women that's trying to get a free paycheck and shit off a billionaire. I don't know what to say. I'll say that, I believe that, especially us black men, straight cisgender black men who may be in the, maybe in in the loop, who may be a men of any means. Even if you don't have any means, I would posit that maybe you should try to trademark your name, or try to license your own fucking name so that if someone uses it in public, you can pursue them legally. We got to start fighting the back against, shit like this. We got to be proactive with our sons, my grandsons in my case, and we have to be proactive about protecting your brand, protecting your reputation and everything. We have to take these weapons away from them or make it where they pay dividends, for using them. Okay. I don't know if Bill Cosby is a public figure. I don't know that he could do something like that. Okay, and it wouldn't be feasible at this point. He's been dragged from here to Timbuktu and shit. And I always think like, what would we have without Bill Cosby as black people and shit. He put on like educational programming. He talked about the importance of education. He contributed to numerous colleges and funds and shit and sponsored people's college educations. He gave Spike Lee money to finish his Malcolm X movie, and Spike Lee still stabbed him in the back because, he's a part of the establishment and shit. Okay. Well, I never really talk about him. that much, because he proved that, being a shill and a biscuit eater and shit, that he can't be trusted. He's duplicitous. He has a traitorous mindset. So everything he did he was disgraced to me. I don't feel like Bill Cosby is disgraced in our ethnic community and shit. Okay, right? He was a vital part of our ethnic community during the time that I was growing up, from my toddler years to the present and shit. Okay, right? He didn't, I didn't agree with everything that he did. I don't care about the pound cake speech. I would, if I was a celebrity, I would say something even harsher than he said. Especially in 2023, and it'd be completely relevant and shit. Right? So these days, they think they've miseducated you enough over the last 3 decades. They think they've miseducated you, black people, enough that they can just be out and open with their egregious racial profiling. Okay? This is racism at its highest order. I don't give a fuck. Okay? I don't give a shit. Right? They don't do the same things for, their people. The people, their people, the people who have cover to them. They don't drag them through the mud like this. But, when it comes over here to the slave quarters, they got more than enough bootlegs and shit looking to make their, cut their teeth, by stabbing a brother in the back and shit. Okay? All right? Stabbing a brother in the back and shit. Nobody's willing to take any, take it. Nobody's willing to come out with a bare chest to the minority majority and tell them no. So these days I find myself at a loss of words. I made a shitload of videos, and I'm just getting tired sometimes. All right. But as far as Bill Cosby goes and shit, I just say enjoy your life and don't move. At first when he came out, I said he should just leave America. But I was like, nah, don't leave America. Stay where you are. Okay, stay where the fuck you are. He's at the end of his life. This is supposed to be his golden years, and he has to be dragged up and down. He don't have to turn his fucking TV on or nothing. He don't have to show up in court. They're just fleecing him for money. That's all it's going to be, a bunch of women showing up with their hands out and shit to get money for being whores back in the day. All right? That's how I feel about it, this shit. All right? Now these women were Playboy playmates, or they have dubious histories in the behind the curtain of entertainment during those times, doing the most. There's no accountability for women. I don't feel like talking about how sexist that is and shit. Okay? I'm just gonna say how I feel and shit, because, obviously I'm a misogynist anarchist and shit who believes that our own community needs a hard reset and shit. We need checks and balances, and until we have that, we'll go nowhere. We'll follow the same trail same trail of tears that, the Native Americans followed and shit, until our numbers are small enough where they don't give a shit. And we know that's never going to happen, because as long as there are black people in this country, these people will get their narcissistic supply, fuel their sick fetish, simplistic, this idiotic fetish and shit based on color. All right? Bill Cosby was innocent. You people can kiss my ass. And he's innocent today. And all this is just bitches line up their hands out. The courts have enacted a temporary 3-year law to allow these women to come up to him like a bread line and shit, and get money for their diseased, busted peace leave and shit. And that's really all I got to say and shit, other than save yourself, black man. Oh yeah, before I go, this guy is he's guilty, but he has a complexion for protection, okay? And I know a lot of you people don't like hearing that shit, but it's fucking true and shit. Every time you see one of you guys doing something, they just try to rug sweep it, okay? But everybody else, like over here in my community, they get dragged out from pillar to post all out in public and shit. They fucking pants down, okay? Fucking pants down. Yeah, Cosby got drugged. He gonna keep getting drugged. They're gonna keep coming back until they get enough of his money or all of it, or until they run him into the grave and shit. Okay? They got R. Kelly in jail. They still trying to rip him off and shit. They done cleaned out his fortune. All these bums, all these people that traffic those kids. They don't give a shit. They just cared about getting a Negro. Okay? And they trying to get his fucking money in jail. His commissary money. Ain't that some shit? You think they're gonna do that to this motherfucker right here? They ain't gonna do shit. Alright? Probably gonna go to a cushy jail cell too and shit. And I don't care about his fucking wife. If she was married to him all them goddamn years, she know what he was doing and shit. And I ain't got nothing to say about the Church of Scientology and shit, because they got nothing to do with what's going on in his pants and shit. Alright? He did some shit because he felt like he could. And he ain't the only one. Like, there's at least 3 or 4 other guys, actors, in his age group that are accused of the same fucking thing. And you ain't seen them dragged out in front of no cameras or harassed and harangued and shit like Cosby, you know? They ain't flying over a bunch of those guys' houses with helicopters and, you know, fucking with them and then, you know, being egregious on the news, calling these bitches victims and shit. Okay? I don't know about this guy's victims and shit, okay? But I know, like, as far as Cosby go, they shouldn't even be calling them bitches victims. They shouldn't be calling them victims. His conviction was overturned by the Supreme Court of that fucking state. All right? He didn't do that shit. All right? He didn't do it. And a lot of those women are shady. They need to make a documentary about some of the shitty things these women was doing and shit. That's why I endorse wholesale guys coming out and just talking about these women they messing around with and shit. And just telling all their dirty ass secrets and shit, because there's no discretion or anything in Hollywood. And as far as I'm concerned, this guy is a criminal and shit. This guy is a criminal of the worst order and shit, as you well know. And I don't care about his fucking wife or how he feels. I don't care about any of that shit. Okay, they're not sensationalizing it like they did with Cosby and a bunch of R. Kelly with 2 documentaries. Fucking Michael Jackson, you know, they went so far as to pull his goddamn pants down. I understand they had to do that for an investigation, but like they publicized it and shit. And people were trying to figure out what Michael Jackson's dick looked like and shit. And the fucking FBI came and said they had been watching him for decades because he was on a fucking watch list. Go figure, right? And he didn't do shit. He was fucking innocent. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But they still call Michael Jackson's people victims and shit, okay? You know, these supposed people. They still call it. It's always the same. Eddie Griffin said black men don't get out of the business clean. All right? And you could just look at how they did Jonathan Majors when he the one that called the fucking cops because the bitch was acting weird shit. She felt a sense of ownership of him like a slave. His girlfriend's a fucking racist. Then she reported him and shit. Yeah, he put himself in that situation. Look how hard they went to paint. His whole career is upended and shit. He ain't did half of the shit this motherfucker did. Right? Right? I guess you thought I wasn't going to comment on this shit because I put the bulk of this shit about Cosby. Because every time that one of these white dudes get in trouble, they run a black dude out in front of the camera and shit. Right? So I don't really have to say shit about this unless if I do talk about it at length, I'm going to make a whole separate video. And you can watch that shit too. And I know a lot of you, a lot of you people, put it that way. You're going to be butthurt when you see this one. Anyway, that being said, I'm getting the fuck out. I need to wash my fucking ass. This shit make me feel gross and nasty. And I feel bad for Cosby and shit. Leave the man alone and shit, okay? He just want his money. All they want is his money. They want to clean out his money. They don't want him to die with that money, even though his daughter is gone. His children are gone, Children are fucking gone. Who's he going to leave that shit to? Right? His wife is as old as he is. Who's he going to live to? Andrew Wyatt? That's the, $470 plus million liquid, question and shit. And that's Cosby's liquid wealth. Not all of his wealth. And knowing that brings a smile to my face because they know they want their money.
This message has been paid for by the Dusties. Yes, the niggas you love to hate.